Good afternoon and welcome to FlossTube number 28. My name is Christine. I am CMD586 on Instagram. If you are on Instagram, please follow me there. It is January 21st, 2019, and I am making my first video of 2019 much later than I thought I would. I actually, we're going to be skipping haul on this video, skipping it, because I actually filmed this video a couple of weeks ago. And you know, I hear from some people that they film their videos and they don't watch them, like they can't stand to watch them, and then they just post them and they never watch them. But I can't do that. I have to, as much as I might want not to see, I have to reassure myself that there's nothing crazy in the video before I post it. Anyway, I'd filmed the video. I put all my stuff away, including all of the various and sundry like Christmas haul, etc. that I got, which is fairly significant. And then I went to edit the video and I watched it and I was like, no, I won't get into it, but I couldn't post it. So, and then I just didn't have time until now to get back to it. And so we will be skipping haul this time around, which is no big deal. You know, you'll see that stuff when as it comes up as I go to use it. So sorry to those of you who really look forward to the haul. It's just digging it all out from my stash after I've put it all away is just too much like work. So I'm not gonna do that. And I needed to film this video today because if I wanted to do one in January at all, because this coming weekend, today's Monday, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is the annual big board game convention that happens in this town. I mean, it's not big. It's big by our standards, but you know, it's mostly locals and stuff like that. It's not a big board game convention, but it's a big deal locally. I spend the whole all night Friday and all day and all night Saturday and all day Sunday doing nothing but playing board games at our like our local sort of convention-y center that we have. And it's exhausting and fun, and but I do that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then Monday I rest because I'm exhausted. I spend the weekend acting like I'm in my 20s again, and I pay for it, and it wears me out, and so I definitely wouldn't be filming a video next Monday. So here I am today, and I actually have a fair amount to say, I think. I have done a lot of stitching, so even though I haven't been filming a video, I have been doing a lot of stitching. I wanted to give a couple of shout outs to start off with. The first one is an Instagram shout out. In one of my most recent videos, I showed that I finished D is for Dancer by the Victoria Sampler, and at that point, I had wanted to show somebody else's work and shout them out, but I didn't yet have their permission, and I didn't feel that I should do that until I got their permission. So now I have their permission. There is a lady on Instagram named Rose. Her username on Instagram, so that you can follow her, is Rose Heck, ROSEHECK, and she does beautiful work. And somebody pointed, I can't remember who at the moment, but somebody sent me a message via Instagram pointing out this project that Rose on Instagram had done that is, of course, right up my alley. Makes me like question my choice in how I'm doing it, but I'm not going to do it this way because I would have to totally start over, and I've already done a couple of these samplers, and each one of them is a significant investment in not only time and effort, but money. So I'm just going to keep doing them piecemeal. But here is a picture of how Rose did it. So she took all of those Victoria Sampler learning samplers and put them all on one piece, and which is fantastic, and it's just that's amazing, and I love Victoria's Sampler, and just seeing that is really inspiring me. And even though I'm not going to do them all on one sheet like that, one piece like that, it makes me want to do all the Victoria's Sampler even more than I already am. So I need to get on it and get the rest. but they're not cheap. That's the other reason to not do them all in one piece is you know, nobody's going to care if I don't do them all ultimately, right? I could just get them at my leisure and do them out of order, and it doesn't matter. But in my fantasies, I would have done it like that. So thank you, Rose, for sharing that. Your work is amazing. The other shout out I wanted to do is something, everybody's been shouting them out, but the more the merrier, in this case, is a FlossTube shout out to the Sassy Stitching Sisters and Brother. And everybody's been shouting them out. They are a 9-year-old and I want to say a 12-year-old and a 16-year-old, 2 girls and a boy. The boy is the youngest, and they are new to FlossTube, and they have made several videos. Their videos are short and sweet and very, like, you know, kind of professionally done. Like, they've clearly been watching FlossTube and paying attention to the things that the rest of us are doing, and they're trying to emulate the best of that, and it's just really wonderful to see kids being involved in this, helping us keep this craft alive, and it's great. And I think FlossTube is maybe a good way to do that, because a lot of young people want to do things like YouTube, you know, and it's, I think it's that FlossTube videos might be a way to help draw in, you know, younger people thinking, hey, I could do this and then I could make videos on it, and something other than like making videos about their video games and things like that. So anyway, it's thrilling to watch them. They're very entertaining. They're very like collected, and you know, they make notes, and they, you know, they're organized, and they get along seemingly, at least for the purposes of the video, and they're just a real pleasure to watch. So if you have not seen them yet, they're a real treat. So go watch them, and leave them a nice comment, because I think I mean, we all deserve love and support, but I think encouraging young people is extra special, so, and extra necessary. So anyway, I just wanted to shout them out. All right, so I'm skipping the haul. All right, I wanted to do a finish parade. My plan is to do a finish parade in this video, and then film another video with my WIP parade in it. I don't know if I'll film that video today, but I almost certainly will post this video before posting that video. I think it's going to take quite a lot of editing, possibly even more so than it did when I did a WIP parade last year. So, okay, so my kid is home and just making noise. I tried really hard to do these videos in an empty house so I can just pretend I'm talking to myself and be less self-conscious, but it's a holiday and he has off and my husband has off, and it was either now or not until February. So if I'm a little distracted by noises and worrying about him like hearing me in here, he knows I'm doing this, but I asked him to please kind of, you know, leave me be. That's why. So all right, so I want to do a finish parade. I it was 2018, and totally coincidentally, I had 18 finishes last year. That was not my intention. It just so happened that that's the way it worked out. I think I had 20 finishes last year, but I had 18 this year. So let me just get started. There'll be a little digging around because I brought everything back here, but it's not necessarily terrifically well organized. So my first finish of 2018 was on January 17th, and it was Wanda's Witchery by Mill Hill. Oops, I do not have it fully finished. I could just get a Mill Hill frame and stick it in it. I have some thoughts, though, about doing something more like fancy. I think it's Stitcherista that has some, excuse me, I'm about to sneeze. That has some videos about, you know, with some finishing techniques for these Mill Hill perforated paper pieces that I found helpful. And I think there's a few other ideas out there, but I'm having some thoughts about finishing this in a more creative fashion than slapping it into a Mill Hill frame. But anyway, so that is Wanda's Witchery. I really love that. Love the colors. Oh, there's something hanging off of it. Give it one more look because I had something hanging off of it. I love the colors. It reminds me of those old Disneyland rides with the, you know, with the black lighting and stuff like that. I love that. Love that stuff. So, uh-oh. I was using it as a background. There it is. Using my notebook that has all my FlossTube, what I'm going to say notes on it. So that was January 17th. The next thing I did was, oh, come on. I hope they're in here. Oh yeah, they are. In February. Oh, here. In February, I wanted to finish some quick things. And so I started and finished one after the other, 3 Brooks Books Advent Calendars, Animals, the first 3. I finished the first one on February 5th. Notice that I did not have these fully finished and hanging on my Christmas tree. On February 7th, I finished number 2. And on February 9th, I finished number 3. Just did these one right after the other. I distinctly remember that these took me about 2.5 days of stitching each to finish, which is, you know, makes them pretty quick finishes. So the next 2 items I can only show pictures of. So here are the pictures. Those are my first and second ever Biscornu. I don't have them because I gave them both away at StitchCon in the Smalls exchange. I gave them to one person. I had to give both of them, or I felt I did, because the first one I made was always intended to be for StitchCon. It was for it was from, I think her name is Guldress Saphir. I may be totally butchering the pronunciation of that name, but she does the Magical Mystery Sals and a lot of free patterns, and she has a Facebook group. Great, generous designer. Lots of fun free patterns. Anyway, the first Biscornu was a pattern by her, but I stitched it. I didn't realize until I was mostly through the stitching that I stitched it on one of those terrible uneven weaves. And I'll tell you what, usually I'm somewhat okay with an uneven even weave. I think in the end the results are usually all right, but for a Biscornu that really doesn't work. I made it work, but I was able to finish it, but since it was rectangular instead of square, when I finished it as a Biscornu, it was kind of wonky. But I felt like bound and determined to give it away at StitchCon anyway, because it says StitchCon 2018 on the back of it. And so I went ahead and did a second Biscornu that turned out much nicer. And I gave both of them away. So to the same person during the exchange at StitchCon, and she was actually thrilled to have them both. She was very nice. So that was fun. So that's why I don't have those. Let's see. The next thing I finished on approximately June. So those are finished. Those Biscornu were finished on April 3rd and April 21st, respectively. On around June 17th. That's just a guess. Usually I get my dates off of Instagram for when I finish things, and this one was one of those odd things that I didn't post right away on Instagram because I did this as a model stitch. This is Captain Timothy. and so it's just a guess as to when I really should have fully finished this and hung this on my Christmas tree this year. But as you can see, I did not. Next year, I will definitely make it a goal of mine to get some of these things that are intended for the Christmas tree actually finished and put on the Christmas tree. I might need some help with that. Like right now I have a couple of things in the Twisted Stitchers in Vonna Pfeiffer's hands, and she's finishing a couple things for me, and I might have her help me finish some of these ornament things. We'll see. So speaking of the things that are in Vonna Pfeiffer's hands, my next two finishes, I will show you a picture of each of them. On July 4th, very, very late in the day, close to midnight, I think, I finished Fireworks on the 4th by Stone Street Stitchworks. It was a pattern that is available for sale on her Etsy shop, but we got it for free at StitchCon, and here is a picture of the finished project. And right now that is in Vonna Pfeiffer's hands. And as is the next one, on June 30th, a few days before that, I finished Witch's Pets. Here is a picture of what that looks like. And I bought that at Keepsakes while I was in StitchCon, and I started it before I left StitchCon, and that too is in Vonna Pfeiffer's hands. I've heard from Vonna, and she's going to be working on mine soonish. I'm in no hurry. I actually didn't expect it to be this soon, so I'm super excited to see what the results of that are. I am like 150% certain that I'm going to be thrilled with whatever it is she does. Okay, then after that, I finished Lizzie Kate, Promise Me. The pattern and the flosses and this fabric were all a gift by from my friend Carla Eldridge, who used to live here and now lives in Colorado. I, however, stitched this tiny. I stitched it 1/1 on the called for fabric. I believe it's a 32 count, like lamb's wool linen. It might be 28 count, but I stitched it 1/1 to make it tiny, and with all of the called for threads that were sent as a kit, and that was on August 16th. On September 1st, I finished Spooks and Spells. I can't remember the name of the designer, but I know I talked about it before in a previous video. So I finished Spooks and Spells. This is part of a Carla and Leo's Halloween stitch along that I've done the last couple of Halloweens, and with my friend Carla Eldridge. There's a Facebook group, and every year they feature a designer or designers and several patterns. You have to purchase the patterns, but you can participate in the stitch along for one of several patterns, and that was the one I chose. My next finish was October 15th, and it is W is for Witch by the Sweetheart Tree, and it is actually fully finished. That is W is for Witch by the Sweetheart Tree. Those are kits. They're wonderful. That was October 15th. On November 4th, I finished Shadow Moon. I think it's called Shadow Moon by Hands On Design. It's another item I purchased at StitchCon, and I did it on it's not the called for fabric, but it's awfully close, I think. This is Chartreuse by Weeks Dye Works. I believe it's 30 count Chartreuse by Weeks Dye Works. And I love it. And I am a fan of Weeks Dye Works fabric. I know lots of people aren't, but if you stitch in hand, then I think you might like it better than people who use a Q-snap, etc. That's Shadow Moon. My next finish is Snowmakers by Twin Peak Primitives. I love this. I did this 32 count, I believe. Here it is. It's shoot. I believe this is it's Blue Spruce by Zweigart. That's who that is. 32 count, I believe. Twin Peak Primitives Snowmakers. And that was on December 3rd. On December 6th, I finished D is for Dancer by the Victoria Sampler. And in spite of a rather major error I made on the cut work, which is my first experience with cut work, I am very happy with it. I learned a lot doing this, and it's beautiful. This is on 28 count platinum, which is the called for all of these learning samplers by Victoria Sampler. That was finished on December 6th. December 9th, I finished my Wizard of Oz balloon on 32 count Milk Chocolate by Witchelt. Not my favorite fabric to work with. I think it's lovely, but it's very stiff and it rips up the DMC threads. So not my favorite, but I do like the results. That was December 9th. Oh, I skipped one. On December 4th, I finished Mr. Holly Ho Ho. This is my oldest WIP ever, and as you can see, I still have not fully finished him. That will be a goal before next Christmas to fully finish him, either into an ornament or stick him to something to display. I do like him. He took me 16 years to finish. What is that, like 1 stitch a week? I don't know. Anyway, he cracks me up. And then on December 27th, I had a surprise finish. Let me show you where I was when last you saw this pattern. And I really did not expect to just completely finish this year. In fact, I had specifically planned to finish it in 2019, but I just got going on it and I couldn't stop, and I loved it. And this is Mr. and Mrs. Darcy of Pemberley by Stitching Parlor. It's one of the several Jane Austen inspired samplers I have from the Stitching Parlor. I could not be happier with this. This is amazing. I made a few changes. So as you can see, the alphabet down there is in several different colors. She did 3 letters per color, and then, but one of the things that she did with that was that everywhere else that the letters were used, like up here where it says EB and FD for Elizabeth Bennet and Fitzwilliam Darcy, she used the colors in her pattern. She used the colors that corresponded to the colors of the letters that were down here, but it ended up looking basically like a mistake because F and D and E were one color and B was another color, and I couldn't handle that. So I went ahead and made them all the same color. The other place she did that was with the maker's initials, which of course are mine on here, the CMD. That's me. She did that same thing, and I really didn't like that either. They were going to be 3 different colors at least, but I just didn't like that. So instead, I did the 2018 and the CMD all in the same color. I did do an almost 100% color conversion on this, not really to make any real changes, but because I didn't want to buy all the crescent colors, and I happened to have a couple of them in my stash. And then I converted, so I used a couple of the actual called fors just because I had them, and then I converted the rest of it to mostly gassed, a couple of DMCs, and then where the CMD is and the 2018, which I had stitched 2019 and I had to rip it out and put in 2018 because I was going to finish it early, and Elizabeth's dress, those were supposed to be lettuce leaves by Crescent Colors, and instead I used a Jodrey design that I think is called Caribbean Blue or Caribbean Sea. I think it's called Caribbean Sea. So I changed that to that, and almost everything else is something different too. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. Couple of specialty stitches in this one. The trees. I think those are Smyrna's. And then what I really love is this dragonfly. The wings are outlined in cross stitches, and then the center is done in satin stitches. If I had designed this myself, I would have chosen different colors for the dragonfly. Dragonflies are brilliant and beautiful, and this is a very dull looking dragonfly. But that's okay. There's enough other bright colors in this pattern that that I'm okay with that. Anyway, I love it, and it was my surprise final finish for 2018. So then, other things I worked on. So after that, I worked on, sorry, my notes are a little weird, but, so anyway, I had a couple of finishes for 2019. Right after I finished that, I spent some time working on a regular, went back to, I was just going to work on WIPS, but I got a very little bit of work done on, oh gosh, oh there it is, I spun the wheel, and I got a very little bit of work done on Balloon over Tuscany. That one. And I'm not even going to bother to show you a picture of where it was before. I believe the last you saw it, oh, maybe a significant amount was done. I can't remember when I last showed it to you. It's been several weeks and I get confused. If you might have seen, the last couple times I stitched on this, first I filled in all of this, which you may have already seen. And then the only other thing I did was, because I had a bulk of this half stitching, which is why the balloon looks that way, kind of thin. Down at the bottom was not done, and I finished that somewhat recently, but you may have seen that in a previous video. And then I spent 1 or 2 days working on filling in the golds with, and it's time consuming because it is like 2 strands of DMC and then 1 strand of blending filament, which you can't see, but it does create a very nice, I don't know if you can see the sparkle at all, a little bit. Creates a very nice sparkle effect, but is kind of a pain. So I'm using the called for, the Kreinik blending filament. So I got a little bit of more work done on that, and I was going to just kind of keep working on WIPS and keep pressing the button on the wheel, and then Bendy Stitchy, I think. posted a picture of a pattern by the Witchy Stitcher. I love like 90% of the patterns that the Witchy Stitcher puts out, and I hadn't done one yet. I'd been successfully resisting buying, and then, you know, it's charity. So the Witchy Stitcher put out this, I don't know when I started working on it, but like right before I think on New Year's Eve I might have started working on it. And it's the proceeds from the pattern, and I think this is still the case, are going to the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's research, and which is the charity for January for Bendy Stitchy. And so, of course, also it's one of my husband's all-time favorite movies, and so I went ahead and purchased the pattern, and I got to work on it right away. And it says, "You are my density, you are my destiny," from Back to the Future, and a respectable version of the DeLorean. So, and this is stitched on something funny. A few months ago, I went into a local store. It's like one of those small business shops where you find all sorts of like odd little things, and I bought a bunch of napkins. They're clearly made out of, I've test stitched on them, and they were clearly made out of something, you know, very even and stitchable. And so, and the beauty of these is they're already finished objects. So this is stitched on one of those. I believe it is 28 count. It's 2/2. And yeah, that was a fun one. That took me just several days to do, but not very long. The back stitching, every letter is fully back stitched, and that took me like a couple of days alone to just do that. There was a lot of that. Then my actual first finish of 2019. I've spoken before about the Magical Mystery Sals that are like very short-term commitments. They're put out by Galder Saphir, and this pattern is still available on her blog, so you can go hunt it down there. But on New Year's Eve last year, she put out a pattern, and it's a true mystery sal, and she released like bits and pieces of the pattern every few hours. And last year you could finish the pattern by the end of the day on New Year's Eve and have a finished object, and I did. And this year the pattern was a little bit more demanding, and she actually continued releasing pieces of it through New Year's Day. So instead of being my last finish for the year, it was my first finish for 2019. And so there's the back and the front. I stitched this on, this is Weigart. I think it's 32 count natural linen, I believe is what it is. I've forgotten, but I love the look. And this is the called for, the suggested colors. You can do whatever you want, but it's 4 colors of blue, and I used exactly what was suggested. And she provided a front pattern and a back pattern if you wanted to do a biscornu. She provided text, but I chose not to stitch any text on it. And this is my first biscornu that I'm going to keep for myself. And blues are basically my favorite, so it's perfect for me. And right now I have a needle sticking out of it. One of the things in my haul that I got is I got some Pat Carson, Pat's favorite needles, because I've long been wanting to try them, and I found some on Stash Unloading, and I went ahead and got a good chunk of them to test out how I like them. I do like them. I tend to use 28 count, size 28 petites, and these are not petite, but they stitch up really nice. And one thing, I have been using this needle, I've been using the heck out of this needle for the last few weeks, and usually my needles, particularly the 28s, they get bent at the eye and they break. This one, because I'm pretty prolific, I stitch a lot, and even my good ones, you know, John James, Bowen, etc., they get bent, and they eventually become, either they break or they get so bent I don't want to use them anymore, and I end up throwing them out. And I've been using this one needle for non-stop for the last several weeks. So it does use a little more floss because it's not petite, so I have to finish off my lengths a little earlier than I like, as a floss, not hoarder, but you know, like I'm really trying to save floss, a stingy floss user. The petites really suit my fancy in that respect, but this is a good needle, so I may be a convert and moving away from my petites. We'll see. They are significantly more expensive than the John James, but if they all last like this one's lasting, they're worth every penny. So I'm enjoying that a lot. It does seem to be also a little easier to thread. I don't have much issue threading needles, but it does seem to be a little bit easier to thread for me. So that is my finishes for so far the year. I've finished 2 things. I'm going to have another thing finished pretty quick though. So next, I worked on, so I showed you Balloon Over Tuscany. I also made, during that time, I made a new start. So the next thing I worked on, I think I'll just, apparently I didn't bring it back here. So that's okay. I made a, I'm going to insert some pictures. I was just itching for another new start. So I started this pattern. Oh, it's bugging me, but that's okay. Let it go. I started this pattern. It is, I mean, I'm calling it Vintage Golf. I don't remember what it's called, but I started that, and I'll insert a picture of where it is now, because I can't be bothered to go hunt it down. I got a start on that. As you can see, I'm using Blitz Stitch's method of diagonal parking on that one because I love it. And I did decide, when I talked about getting that pattern project, it's a Beachilla kit, and I talked about debating whether I should use the threads that came with it or whether I should convert to DMC. And since I have a complete DMC collection, I know it's a little bit wasteful, but I decided to go ahead and convert it to DMC because honestly, I did not want to sort through that pile of threads and try to figure out if it was all there, etc. So I found a conversion chart and I just converted to DMC. Also with diagonal parking, it uses up a little extra thread, and so I just decided to go ahead and convert it. So, so there is that. And then I also did some work on Wicked Christmas. I am deep in the houses. This came up on the Wheel of Whips as I was, you know, just randomly trying to find something to work with. Wicked Christmas. Best pattern ever. But there's a lot of the houses. And here's a picture of where it was before. And here it is now. I put in several hundred stitches. I'm just doing the agonizing work of filling in. I'm filling in that house. Yeah. That is, it's going to take forever. Just the fill-in work on this. This is just a very labor-intensive project. It will be worth it in the end, and at least it's easy. The fill-in work is easy. But there's a lot of those houses, and I'm just here. So yeah, that's gonna be a lot of filling in. So it's just gonna take a long time. That's all. It's gonna be easy, but it's gonna take a long time. So did that, and then finally, and this is gonna be my next finish, I'm pretty sure. My Beloved Dreaming of Sunflowers by the Rosewood Manor. Y'all know how much I love the Rosewood Manor. Here's a picture of where it was when last you saw it. And here it is now. I've officially finished 4 of the 6 pages, but I have done good chunks of both of the fifth and 6th page. So yeah. Oh God, I love that. I'm just working like crazy on that one. That one is going to be my next finish. And also, one of the reasons that I'm working on this in such a determined fashion is that I am going to be giving this to a friend, and I have a very special friend, and who's a quilter, and she doesn't cross stitch, but she definitely appreciates it, and she loves yellows and oranges, and those are her favorite colors. But the Stitch 9 challenge. So Farm Girl, if you have somehow not been aware, you probably all are. Farm Girl issued this Stitch 9 challenge, and that's the hashtag Stitch 9 challenge. On Instagram, and basically there were 9 projects, sort of 10, but it's the hashtag is Stitch 9 challenge, projects that she wanted to finish before stitching some other things, before starting some other things, and so she has issued a challenge to get 9 things finished this year. And I went through my WIPs. I have a lot of WIPs, and I found 9 things that I like really call to me and that I feel are realistic to finish. I also mostly picked not small things that are of more significant size, but that I know that if I put in some focused time on them, I can get them finished. So I'm going to tell you about those 9 now, the 9 I've chosen. The first one of them is this Dreaming of Sunflowers, and I'm going to finish that. I'm going to finish it probably before I work on anything else. The next project that I am doing in the Stitch 9 challenge, here's a picture of what it will look like finished. It's a Riolas kit. I almost thought I would finish this last year. Last time I worked on it solid. I made a ton of progress, but then I just decided to do some other things. But here's where I am on that. So I definitely feel like I could finish this year if I just buckle down and do it. And I absolutely adore this thing. So, you know, as you can, let's see here. Again, a picture of the finished project. So you can see what I have left to do. I've got a real solid amount done. And, yeah, probably a couple of weeks I could have it done. So there is that. Let's see. So next thing is Grandmother's House by Told in a Garden. Here is the picture of the finished project. Still have quite a bit to do on it, but this one stitches up pretty quickly when I work on it. It's not hard. So I could definitely finish this if I tried. Just have to focus on it. There's that. And these are all projects that when I went through my WIPs, like they called to me. These are not things that like, oh, I don't feel like working on. They're things that really called to me. And so I feel strongly that I will want to work on them and can finish them. So next one is my other balloon pattern. This one. And you can see why I think I can finish this one. Because I got the hard stuff done on this. This is definitely okay, that's fine. Sorry, I had a moment where like I was questioning the size of my fabric, but there's enough. I'm like, did I put it on here on the wrong way? No, there's room for another project over here, but there's definitely room enough to get to the bottom on this one. So there's that. So as you can see, I've done like the hardest part, which is the center balloon. That was a challenge. All the back stitching is even done on it. So you know that is very, very doable. Those houses too, they're just outlined, right? Yeah, the houses down there, they're just outlined. They're not stitched. So anyway, easily finished that one. There's that one. And then Time Traveler. I don't have anywhere near the amount done on this one as I do on some of these others that I've chosen, but like I just don't feel like it's that much work. I feel like I can get this one done. So there is that. This is the one that I had a little trouble because I decided to experiment with working with a hoop again, which I haven't done in many years. Turns out it's not for me. I still want to maybe experiment a little bit with the Q-snap because I haven't tried Q-snaps, I don't believe. Anyway, you can see the hoop marks of where I tried this, and that was not a good thing. So I won't be doing that again. But you know, it's fun to try things and retry things. My perspective and my tastes have changed dramatically in the last few years, and so I just thought, I got this hoop laying around, I'll give it a try. Maybe I'll enjoy it. And nope. Okay. Next is my U.S. Presidents by Cloud Factory. I'm not going to show you a picture of the finished project because it's kind of obvious what it's going to look like when it's done. Could have had this one done this year, but I stopped working on it. But this goes fast when I work on it. So I got all the way through Herbert Hoover, so I can get this one done. That one's on 40 count birch, 1/1. So there is that one. Next is the Great Cheshire Pumpkin Sow by Tempting Tangles. Doing this on a hand-dyed fabric that was gifted to me by Janny in Mexico. Presumably coffee dyed. It's only a few days worth of work there. It's about maybe a little less than a quarter of the way done. But that's not a real like demanding big project, so I think I can get that done. Country Store. This one I feel a little less confident about, just because even though I have a significant amount done, I tend to burn out on it. There's so many color changes. This is the Country Store. That's what it'll look like when it's finished. But at the same time, it's not a huge project, and last time I took it out, I did get quite a lot done on it. So, oh yeah, and I'm looking at this and I'm like, I should be able to get that done. But it's one of those where I think there's more to it than seems to be. This is on Blue Spruce, I think 28 count. We'll see. So, I really do want to get these 9 done. And then, talked about the sunflowers already. Sorry, I'm reading my list. And then, this one, Cottage Welcome by the Cricket Collection. That's what it looks like when it's finished, except mine is on a bright yellow, like sunny fabric instead of a light blue. But, so you can see I'm not quite halfway through, but I've got a good chunk on it. I'm a good third of the way through on that. So, yeah, I shouldn't have any trouble getting that done. And I think I got all of that done in like one stretch. So, and I didn't even burn out on it. I quit working on it because I needed to work on something else for some reason. But yeah, that one calls to me all the time. So I think I can get all of those done. I'm not being rigid with my plans on it. I have this vague idea of trying to get like one done each month, and then having the last 3 months of the year be, you know, kind of a free-for-all. Also trying to get one done each month, and then if I finish it during the early part of the month, you know, then choosing whatever, but I make no commitment because if I'm too rigid with myself, I just won't get things done. So those are my Stitch 9 challenges. Please check out Farm Girl's videos. Her latest video talks about the Stitch 9 challenge. There is a prize involved at the end. I think you only have till February 1st to like sign up and say what you're going to be doing. And there's a hashtag on Instagram called #Stitch9Challenge. So if you aren't already aware of it, but want to participate, it is not yet too late to do so. So now, although I'm not doing haul really, I wanted to do a quick flip through. Several months ago, I got a couple of Veronique Enganger, I think is how you pronounce her name, books by Schiffer Publications, and then I recently learned that they put out another one, and this one is Christmas themed. All of these books are great. This is actually my least favorite of all of them, but they're all good, and so I'm glad to have it. I just love her. I love her style. One of these days I'm gonna have to do a video where I talk about all the things I want to stitch that I'm not stitching. I now have 3 of her books, and I really need to like do some stitching on them. So I'm gonna do a quick flip through of this book. Okay, so she's got the projects in this book. She's got the projects all in the front, and then the patterns in the back. So we can show this. So the first one is Holly Wreath and Candies. Now, one thing you will notice on all of these patterns that she shows, you can see like advent calendar numbered things in all of them. So, and then like there's stuff that shows you like how to separate them out as like for the advent calendar, or you could stick a different one in each of those spots. They're fairly uniform in terms of size and stuff like that, so you can mix and match. But I like how she's included them in each of the bigger projects too. So there's the first thing. There we have First Snowfall, Snowmen, Sledding, and Snowball Fights. Recapture your childhood with this design that features the gentle flavor of the first snowfall. There's those. Toy Shop Window, and also because this is a French book, everything is all the text and everything is in French, and I don't believe that English translations for stitching are provided. I do not have a problem with that. I kind of like French, but anyway, I don't have a problem with that personally, but it's something to know. So the descriptions are in English, but the wording and the patterns is French. Toy Shop Window, true works of art. The department store's windows light up the long winter nights with their sparkling garlands and magical puppets. The bears, dolls, and other delights that make up this design will put stars into your eyes. So, Letter to Santa. Dear Santa, for a rich and creative year, we embroiderers wish to find original colored skeins and floss under the Christmas tree. While we wait for those marvelous colors, here is a charming design to stitch children who are both impatient and full of hope. Santa's sack. To help Father Christmas distribute his gifts, make him a nice sack to keep all his things in. So there's a lot of finishing ideas in this book, and there's finishing instructions. Oh, it is good to know that these are all these are full color designs. It's full color patterns, which I know is a struggle for some people. St. Nicholas, I really like this. The delicious smell of cookies fresh from the oven floats over this design. Embroider this tempting design and offer it in the spirit of St. Nicholas to your family. In the 3rd century, St. Nicholas, the Bishop of Myra, in modern-day Turkey, became known for giving gifts to poor children. In many households, his feast day, December 6th, is an occasion for gifts. I like this design a lot. I particularly like that center one. Getting the Christmas tree. Ah, sweet nostalgia. The smell of fresh pine awakens our best memories of Christmas, also captured in this wintertime design. Santa's Workshop. Christmas is coming and the elves are busy getting the toys finished in time to fill good old Santa's sack. Now it's your turn to reproduce all the good energy that comes from these charming little elves as they go about happily preparing. My Lovely Tree. I really like this one. Colorful baubles, a few strings of lights, and a star fixed to the topmost branch. It doesn't take much to make children smile in delight. Get your needles and floss ready and decorate this lovely tree design in your own way. You'll see the good mood effect is instantaneous. Evergreen wreaths. Beloved decorations for the end of the year holidays. Holly wreaths and mistletoe are honored in this design. Get out your best threads and embroider these symbols of happiness. Also, I'm just reading the little quick blurb, but then there's more like details under each of the blurbs that gives like more interesting things about the Christmas traditions in various places. So I really appreciate that. That's fun to know about when you're stitching things, to know, you know, the meaning of some of the symbols and things like that. Christmas tree ornaments. It's such a pleasure to decorate the Christmas tree, especially when you've created the ornaments yourself. Reading Christmas stories. Comfortably settled with their favorite toys, these two angel-faced children escape into the magic of Christmas fairy tales. Curled up in a soft blanket or beside a cheerful fire in the grate, let the magic of Christmas warm you stitch after stitch. Animals celebrate Christmas. Aren't these charming animals adorable as they get ready to celebrate Christmas? These designs would make pretty napkins, for example, to enjoy on Christmas Eve. Caroling. In this scene, we see crystal clear-voiced and angelic-faced children singing the most beautiful Christmas carols. On a canvas as white and pure as snow, reproduce this tableau where the nuances of blue conjure up winter mornings. Irving Berlin's 1942 song White Christmas captures our ideal memories, and its power has not dimmed in the past 75 years. The version sung by Bing Crosby is the world's best-selling single worldwide. I like those, I mean, they look like blueberries. I like those. Those are different. Christmas decorations. Rich in color, delicate and sparkling, Christmas decorations give life to the frozen winter decor. For a 100% creative Christmas, don't hesitate to use the elements in this design to decorate your tree with your embroidery. Christmas stocking hung at the fireplace mantle. This homemade stocking will delight both adults and children. I do want to make stockings. I have quite a few stocking designs. I have yet to make any of them. Dreaming of toys. A rocking horse, a cradle, a doll, and other toys float through the sweet dreams of the children in this design. Your skeins and your needles would carry you away to the land of imagination. I really like that top design up there. The three little children sitting on a branch. Tree of Treats. This one, though, I think is my favorite. It's on the cover. Can you smell all the good Christmas odors? Gingerbread calisons, a traditional French candy. Candy canes and chocolate Yule logs will come and entice your senses thanks to this tree of sweets and delicacies. Christmas Eve. Tonight it's certain Father Christmas will be starting his deliveries, going from house to house to leave a pile of presents under the tree. The children who are behaving themselves gaze at the sky for a glimpse of Santa's flying sleigh. Then they hang up their stockings. I like that Santa. He's cute. The Santa in the middle, he's kind of dumpy and cute. He's very cute, very small looking. Christmas morning. The long-awaited morning has finally arrived and the promise of lots of presents has been kept. This design shows eyes full of stars and faces lit up with joy and the warm colors of the Christmases of our childhood. And here it shows you examples of what to do with the advent calendar pieces. And there is a ABC, there's an alphabet. So you could use the alphabet maybe to translate some of the French text if you really wanted it to be in English. Merry Christmas, holly, a little red and green. You're ready to wish your family and friends a Merry Christmas in CrossStitch. Happy New Year, a little mistletoe, sweet surprises, and goodwill. Your family and friends will be delighted with these little stitch wishes while the year changes. Greeting cards. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. How about embroidering your greeting cards this year? They'll be more original than a traditional card and warmer than a text message, so send your handmade creations to your family and friends. I really like that one. And then there's the patterns, which I said are not easy for everybody because they're full color. And some of the colors have symbols in them, but nevertheless, if you're colorblind, you may have a problem. And then there is also finishing instructions. They give you some basic cross-stitch instructions, but they give you some like finishing techniques for specific things like the advent calendars and stuff like that. So that is that. The next thing on my to-do list for FlossTube is to film a WIP parade, and I don't know whether I will do that right away or what. It's going to take a significant amount of editing, so chances are those two videos, this video and that video, will not go up together, but I do want to do a WIP parade. And that's it. So thank you for sitting through this with me, and thank you to all of you other FlossTubers who I'm kind of sorry I didn't get a video up before now, because right around Christmas and New Year's there was just such a wealth of wonderful like recap and WIP parade, finish parade, etc. videos to watch, and I got so much joy out of sitting and stitching while watching all those. I discovered a lot of new to me people because I love a WIP parade. Like if I see that you got a WIP parade and I haven't watched you before, or some sort of recap where I think I'm gonna like get kind of a encapsulation of like what you do, if I'm not super familiar with you, or if I've just like lost track of you, then I definitely watch all those videos that I come across. And so I think it's wonderful that there are so many to watch now, that we can't possibly watch everybody and that we have to kind of pick and choose. I wish I could watch everybody, but it was really wonderful. All of the material that was produced by FlossTubers these last few weeks. What an amazing thing. So let's keep it going, and let's encourage those kids to keep on going too. So anyway, I will talk to you all very soon. You will see a WIP parade from me hopefully really soon. And all right, bye guys.
Today on After Stitch, we'll be doing Anton's Finish Parade, where he shows you everything he finished in 2018. Well, that's it for After Stitch. Stay tuned next time for my WIP parade.